Hey guys, I'm Brittany from Quarter Acre Roots, where we talk about growing a lot on a little bit of space, specifically our quarter acre. And today I'm actually inside for the most part working on some plant chores. It's been a little while since I did a video that was just like do some chores with me, and I have a lot of like little things to work on right now that don't necessarily make the threshold for having their own video. So we're going to talk a little bit about seed starting, we're going to talk a little bit about winter sowing, we're going to talk a little bit about some houseplants because I did a lot of houseplant propagation cuttings recently that I am working on for our upcoming Master Gardener plant sale. So let's get started. First up, we're going to talk a little bit about seed starting and where I'm at with that. So I haven't started a ton of stuff indoors yet. I have some onions and some kale downstairs because I do want to get those the longest head start possible, at least for the onions. And then the kale I can put out when it's still really, really cold. I just have germination problems outside sometimes. So I'm starting those inside so I can transition them outside probably next month, and then they'll do great in this cold weather here. So for seed starting, I'm going to show you guys what I'm filling up right now. These are the Vego Garden seed cell. I believe these are the jumbo size, so they're a little bit deeper than the other ones. And last year I did a video on all of the different things I was trying out to start my seeds, and I said that these are my favorite. They are still my favorites. I love them a lot because they have the little humidity domes. And I also had some green stalk seed starting cells that they sent me to try out. I thought those were really great. I love the size, I love the portability of them, but they didn't have humidity domes. This year they have humidity domes, so I'm super excited about that. So I'd say that both of those are probably a tie for me because I love having the little humidity domes and I love being able to put everything like on a tray to carry around to water together. For my seed starting medium, for winter sowing, I wanted to get started a little early, so I picked up this bag. I think this was just from Walmart. It's just like an organic seed starting mix. It is coco coir, it has plant food in it, it has everything. So it's not a sterile mix. So I like that for my winter sowing because I'm not like adding fertilizer at any part of the process. I'm just like throwing stuff outside and letting winter take care of it. If you hear shouting, it's because I have a foster cat right now who is at the bottom of the stairs shouting. He's adorable. I'll show him to you if he comes up to join us. But he is a very shouty boy in the middle of the day. So for my medium, for seed starting in like my little seed starting trays, I like to use coco coir. So if you've never used coco coir before, you've probably seen a coconut and you've seen like the hairy outside of it. So that's what this is. It's like a super lightweight, airy, well-draining, and sterile material that you can use for your seed starting. I like to have this on hand for a lot of different reasons. I will mix this up with like mixes for houseplants and stuff like that to enhance aeration and drainage in the soil. I'll also use this for potted plants outside. This is a really great thing to have on hand. So on that note, I do like to buy it in bulk to keep the cost down. So I bought this. This had 4 bricks in it when I got it. I've already expanded one. This is what the bricks look like. And overall, these 4 bricks are going to make 36 quarts or 9 gallons of potting mix, which is really great. That's a lot of potting mix. So even if you don't start that many seeds, again, these are super easy to store since they're compressed, and they make a great thing to have around the home or garden if you're a houseplant or a container gardening person. So I actually did the math. I paid $14.62 for a pack of 4 of these. And since it makes 36 quarts or 9 gallons, that evens out to $1.62 per gallon or 41 cents per quart. So that is about half the price of what I paid for a bag of seed starting mix, like ready to go. So all you do to expand them is you take the brick and you put it down in like a bucket or some sort of container, and then you add water until it becomes a mixture that looks like this. So it will start to immediately expand when you add water. And I don't like to measure my water and, you know, just put it in all at once. I like to add water and then like scrape off the top of the brick that I'm expanding, flip it over, and then add a little bit more water until everything has expanded. Now this is about half the size of what that brick is expanded because I've already been filling up some of my containers here, and I have a bunch off to the side that I filled up. So when I say this expands and makes a lot of potting medium, it really does. Your money goes a long way with this stuff. And another thing that's really great about using coco coir is it is far more sustainable of a resource than a peat moss is going to be. So it's really, really hard to find potting soils and seed starting mixes that don't have peat moss in them or that aren't peat based. It takes a really long time to develop peat moss in peat bogs. That's where it comes from. and you have to get down in there and harvest it, and that's taking from a habitat that a lot of organisms need to thrive and to continue to exist. So it's not a super sustainable way to garden. Luckily, coconut coir is a super sustainable and affordable way to phase peat moss out of your gardening. I've used it for years. I've found no difference between using a coconut coir and a peat moss, so I highly recommend you make that switch to something that's a lot more sustainable. So I'll give you guys a look here at how I fill this up. It can be kind of messy, and I want to avoid getting too much down the drain, so what I will do is just loosely fill up the entire seed starting container, and then I will go down and push down to make sure it fills it out, and then top it off. And then I will just take like a little toothpick to make a hole in the middle to plant my seeds. Now, I'm not planting all of these today. I'm going to be planting some peppers today because I started my peppers way too late last year and had a hard time getting a lot of them to ripen before the end of the season. So I'm starting them a couple weeks earlier indoors here in zone 7A in hopes that that will give them the head start they need to start producing a little bit earlier. I'm also gonna start some of my eggplants today. I have a Chinese string eggplant and a swallow eggplant I'm doing this year from Vego seeds. And then for peppers, I've got a Canary Bell yellow and then a Revolution sweet pepper also from Vego seeds. I really like Vego seeds. They have all the good ethics that you want to have in a seed company, because if you're new to gardening, not all seed companies have great ethics, as you will find with a simple Google search before you search for any of your seeds. As for labeling our seeds this year, I am doing something, and I promised myself I'm gonna do this for all my seed starts, even though every year I start to use popsicle sticks from my daughter's craft cabinet. And if you've ever used popsicle sticks, you know that they do not hold up. They're going to like absorb and bleed whatever you write on them, so that, you know, in a couple weeks or months, you're not gonna be able to tell what's in your seedling containers. And if you have a couple different varieties of things that you want to keep separate, it's really important that you keep them labeled. So here's a cheap trick for you guys. I like these yogurts. I eat them all the time. So what I did was cut them up and created all of these little labels. So the back has like the yogurt container on it. If that bothers you, just get a kind of yogurt that like has a wrapper that comes off. And then since this is plastic and waterproof, you can use a xylene-free garden marker to write on these, and these will be perfectly good plant markers. And I'm going to promise myself that I'm going to remember to cut up all my yogurt containers so I have enough for the whole year and not screw myself like I do every single year with labeling. Okay, I've got everything sewn and labeled here. We've got eggplants and peppers. I'm gonna do some more, but I didn't have enough to fill up a whole nother tray of 8, so we'll do those another day. Maybe I'll save those for tomatoes when it's time. Okay, so the next thing I need to be working on is filling out some of my winter sowing jugs. So I've basically been putting out all of my winter sowing as I have enough jugs to sow the seeds. So if you're new to winter sowing, you're essentially creating like a tiny little greenhouse in an old milk jug or something like that. You want to cut it in half, throw away the little lid because you leave that open, and then poke a bunch of holes in the bottom. And I've learned this year that it's probably beneficial to poke a couple holes in the top as well. I don't usually do that, but this year I'm going to, because I learned that a lot of people do that. So once you poke all the holes, you're going to put a couple inches of soil in the bottom, and for that I am going to use what's left of this seed starting mix here. And for this one, I'm actually going to winter sow a bunch of calendula seeds I got from my cousin. So I wanted to add some more calendula to the garden this year, and these seeds are so interesting looking. If you've never seen a calendula seed, I'll show you an up close shot here. This is what it looks like. Please focus. Yeah, there we go. Aren't they cool looking? They're like little rigid hooks. So I'm just gonna sprinkle those into this jug, and then we'll put a little soil on top. Hi, Mitch. What you doing, buddy? I just told them I had a rescue kitty in my house right now. A beautiful baby boy. Do you want to see the camera? Oh, no, I freaked him out. Then once I put the seeds in and put an inch or so of soil on top, I'm just gonna wipe around the edges here because we need to tape the lid back on. It's gonna create our little greenhouse, and what happens in this little greenhouse is far before it's warm enough to start seeds just outside, you're creating this tiny little microclimate because the sun will heat up this enclosed area. Having the holes in the top, that will let in and out air. It will let in water, and then the holes that you put in the bottom let out all of your excess water. You just want to make sure you put it somewhere where it's not going to blow over. So it needs to have access to the elements. You need to be able to have water or snow get into the top, and then you just set them outside and you let them ride until spring. And once the seedlings have sprouted and it starts warming up a little bit during the day, you can take the top off during the day to start hardening off those seedlings. Well, look who it is. Hello. Hi, buddy. Come here. Come here. Look. Where's your boy? He is a former feral cat from the colony that we help feed. I know I've mentioned on this channel before that every fall and spring I also do a plant sale to help raise money for this feral cat colony that we help take care of, because we started off with 13 cats and 5 kittens because one of them was heavily pregnant at the time. And now we're to the point where we have gotten homes for the vast majority of them. We've got 3 cats left in the colony, not including Mangey, but we have been vetting him with a local rescue, getting him used to people and getting him used to living indoors. We've got him all of his vaccines, all that good stuff so that we can try and find him a home. So he's been our foster kitty for a little over a month now, and it's been really fun. He's not a kitten, but he's a younger cat, so it's been fun to have some young cat energy again, since my cats are just old and they just want to sleep all day. That's it. I've got 2 jugs done here. I am going to set these outside, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the houseplant propagations I have going. Okay, these propagations are far from being ready to go into soil, but I went a little crazy the last plant watering day and I trimmed up a lot of my houseplants, especially my Hoyas. So this whole jar here is full of Hoya carnosa crimson queen. Yes, this is the queen. I always get them confused. The queen has the green leaves on the inside and then the cream or whitish margins. And I took quite a few cuttings that have peduncles on them. So Hoyas are really cool because if a Hoya sprouts a peduncle and flowers from it, after it's done flowering, don't cut off the peduncle because it will flower and reflower from that same spot. In addition to that, one of my favorite little plant propagation vehicles, this is the top of a cluster bud vase. You can sometimes find these on like Facebook Marketplace or eBay or in thrift shops. I love this thing so much. It's great for small propagations like this. I've got 6 Hoya carnosa compacta rope plant propagations, and then I've also got some, can't remember, Hoya cortesi, I think, up here. Super splashy, super silvery. That one definitely needed a trim. So I've got all of these rooting in water here until it gets a little bit warmer. I also took some cuttings from my Hoya carnosa compacta variegata, and that one's much smaller than my non-variegated. It's really just like the crinkly version of a Hoya carnosa crimson queen. So it's got the same coloring, the same cream margins, and then I also have some rickrack cactus cuttings in here as well. My plant kind of looks like crap, so I wanted to make sure that I saved some of it in case it doesn't make it through the winter for some reason. I've had it for a long time, but it's showing some signs of stress this year, and I'm not really sure why that is. And then these are from one of my favorite Hoyas. This is the Hoya obovata. I love these big leaves. They're like big satellites. They're super splashy with like a silvery variegation on them. This one flowers like crazy too, so some of these cuttings have some peduncles on them, and these are actually some pretty big cuttings. So I'm really hoping that these are happy enough in water until it gets warm enough to transplant them to soil. And then in these 2 cool little vessels, I don't know what these were originally for, honestly. At first I thought candle holders, but then it just seems like the candle would sit down inside of it. I thought they'd be perfect for propagation, so I have them sitting on our fireplace mantle. This one has cuttings from a reverted strand of a Hoya carnosa crimson queen, so just a regular Hoya carnosa, and then this one has our crimson princess cuttings, and you can see this one is more of a yellowish, creamish in the middle with the green border, so opposite of the crimson queen. And I also like how this one has a nice pink stem on it. This is one of my only Hoyas that has not flowered yet, so I gave this one a nice trim, and I'm hoping that that one will flower this spring. I've also got some Hoya Wayeti cuttings in here, and then isn't this so cool? This is a Pyrex. As someone who works in public health, I love the science angle for my plants. And then we have some fern leaf cactus cuttings up here. Very, very pretty. I love how the cuttings look when they're just Kind of sitting in water like a cut flower bouquet. It's a nice splash of greenery when all the flowers are pretty much dead outside. That about wraps up my plant chores for today. It is above freezing today, so I'm gonna go outside and do some more boring cleanup tasks. We had a super windy storm recently, so I'm just gonna do some auditing and some picking up of things that have blown around. Until my next video, happy planting!